to today's panel discussion on the roadmap for harnessing nuclear energy, convened in the backdrop of the successful CEO roundtable held in VGRC at Mehsana in October 2025. That roundtable marked an important milestone, bringing together leadership across government, industry, and academia to align perspectives, identify challenges, and Chair Shri Samesh Bandyopadhyay, Managing Director GSECL, and our co-host and moderator of this session, Ms. Suvaraha, Fellow and Youth International CEW, on the dais. And now I request both host and co-host to welcome our welcome, sir. Now I invite Shri Prasenjit Pal, sir, ex-Executive Director, NTPC. Ms. Suvaraha is requested to welcome our Chandra Prakash Tiwari, sir, Head Business Development, Tata Power. Mehra, sir, Head Energy, Environment and Infrastructure, US India Business Council, JPL. Head Vice President, IYNS. Now I invite Managing Director GSECL for welcome address.
Very good afternoon, distinguished analysts, nuclear experts, our moderator, madam, all distinguished. It's yet another session we are organizing following the first one, which was the CEO roundtable, more or less closed door meeting, and on roadmap towards harnessing the nuclear energy in India and in Gujarat in particular. So, I on behalf of Gujarat time out and addressing this occasion so that the fruitful discussions can take place throughout these 90 minutes we have. This time we have a little bit of better time. policy making. In October and today we are in January. In the last week of December, Shanti Act was enacted. As many of you are aware of sustainable harnessing and hundred gigawatt by 2047. Right now we are at 8.8 gigawatt. And you'll be surprised to know the world's largest nuclear power plant, you might be knowing, that is not in operation now in Japan, which is almost having 8,000 megawatt, 8 gigawatt capacity. And we as a country have this much of capacity. Even South Korea has been having almost like 7,800 megawatt single plant. So we are a long way to go. We have 25 reactors in operation, 24 in operation, but the capacity is very bigger compared to the European, US, Chinese, Koreans, Japanese. They are almost every reactor is more than 1000 megawatt capacity. If you have 57, China has 57, 58 reactors in operation and capacity is around 62,000 to 62 gigawatt. And we surprised to know, because we should know all those data while adding capacity, and if we really wish to fulfill our Honorable Prime Minister's goal. Yesterday, during, many of you might be there in that main hall, main dome, where Honorable Prime Minister has again re-emphasized the need of nuclear power and as a source of cleaner power. And we need, not only we need, net zero needs nuclear. It's a tagline from IEA. So, only in one country in the world which is advancing at a commendable space is only China. If you Google it, you can find 37 reactors are in construction stage, whereas others are very meager, 1, 2. India is relatively better, 6. Even Bangladesh has 2 reactors under construction. And now, rest of the world is also coming back. Japan is restarting their nuclear facilities. France, UK, Belgium, Russia is already there. Denmark, US, the maximum capacity in the world is the US. So all are filling the needs of low carbon power. So this and our government, particularly Government of India, is also emphasizing on rapid capacity addition. So there are a lot of challenges. Our panelists and moderator will take us throughout this session. Challenges of equipment manufacturing, challenges of the manpower, skilled manpower, challenges of water resources, challenges of land, and most importantly the mindset of the people about nuclear. So a lot of changes, only the act cannot change all. So that's why we are very frequently organizing this type of seminar or CEO roundtable and many more to follow, so that the awareness also is developed about the pros, not the cons of nuclear energy. So I think I will not long linger any further. So with this, I hope that this session will be very fruitful and we come out with a concrete outcome after the session is over, so that really we can leapfrog to attain the 100 gigawatt target of our Prime Minister. So with this I declare this session open and I hand over it to our moderator, Madam.
Thank you very much, Chair sir. An extended applause for Someshji and his team. His team has been hard at work and also today. Thank you very much for making this possible and for convening a full house. I can see from here, and I took some photos because every seat is taken and there are some people standing also. And we are going to have a non-technical conversation today. We are going to involve questions from you at any point of time that you think you have any question. Either make a note or raise your hand. I'll also open it up to the audience at least twice during our conversation. And we have very senior people here, but I've requested them to present their views in a way that people like me and people like you who are not experts in nuclear can also understand the scope of the opportunity and the challenge that both exist before us. But before I start, I'm going to do a very quick round of introductions and I'm going to take a poll. And we'll start with Chair Someshji, though he has said that he considers the Shanti Bill momentous. But each of you please take 1 minute to tell the people how you are linked with nuclear or how you are this panel. And on a scale of 1 to 5, your excitement or not with the Shanti Bill or the change that has happened, with 5 being, wow, that is cool. And 1 would be like, okay, we don't have any. So we'll start with Chair and then we'll go to Mr. Malviya. Please introduce yourself and please give a little bit so that people know you a little better.
I am Somesh Bandapade and I am Managing Director of Gujarat State Electricity Corporation Limited. We are in generating business, power generation business, and we are very much waiting eagerly for this Shanti Act to come to be enacted, because till now we were not allowed to participate in nuclear sector. Only the central gencos were allowed. So we, along with the private entrepreneurs also, we can participate, and we are looking forward to establish nuclear power plants in the state of Gujarat, maybe on joint venture basis. So already we started for the last 1 year, lot of discussions with NPCIL and BBARC, NTPC, and lot of unapproved discussions, unapproved studies also we have done. So we are waiting for this bill to come, and but definitely will be on work. We will grab this opportunity.
So 515. We're doing our hammer also. I just request everyone to keep your mobile phones on silent so that everybody's focused on the conversation.
Hello everybody, I am Sanjay Kumar Malia. I am site director at Kakrapara, Gujarat site. It is the only site in Gujarat where nuclear power plants are there, and we have got 4 units, 2 units for 220 megawatt each, and 2 latest units of 700 megawatt each, which are recently constructed at there. And nuclear energy, as all you know, it is a green energy, clean energy. So when it is for Viksit Bharat, for green energy, it is considered that we should go for nuclear energy. So we welcome this government's move, and I will give 5 out of 5, because we are also feeling that till now we were alone in this sector. Now we will get some company so that we all can grow together. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Prasanjit Pal. I used to head the nuclear business for NTPC, I was executive director nuclear in NTPC, and I had additional charge of being the project director for Mahi Baswara project, which is the first joint venture project for which the foundation stone was laid last year. I also am the founder, CEO of NTPC's wholly owned subsidiary company, NTPC Parmanu Ujjani Company. We are taking baby steps. Obviously, we take a lot of help and guidance from our good friends in NPCIL. And what we are trying to do or rather what my team was trying to do was fast track growth of nuclear technology projects in India. To that extent, we have noted some 35 locations across the country where possibly a nuclear project could be established, and we are in the process of doing detailed studies for that. We are also pursuing one site in the state of Gujarat, and of course it was an uphill task initially because we were new to the business, but we have tried to learn as quickly as possible, and we could get a lot of clearances for the Mahi Baswara project, the first joint venture project. Incidentally, this joint venture was created in 2011, and after that Fukushima happened, so everything was in the cold storage. But about 3-4 years back, again we have revived it. And now this joint venture company is up and running. And currently I'm happy to say that thanks to the Honorable PM's visit in Mahi Baswara last year, the company is now fully operational. The joint venture company, Ashwini as we call it, is fully operational and will be going ahead for additional projects. I give 5 out of 5 to the government for bringing out the Shanti Bill. But yes, nuclear business is not as easy as it seems, and therefore a lot needs to happen on the ground. So the Shanti Bill has brought in the right kind of policy framework which was required for nuclear business to move ahead. And now it's up to all of us to, take this movement forward. So I also look forward to working together with all the nuclear experts in this country. And I'm sure we'll have a great show in future, and we will all be able to contribute towards reducing the carbon footprint of the energy basket. You see, the whole country is going to ultimately require all technologies. Any one technology will not meet the all requirements, but we'll try to reduce the carbon footprint of the energy basket. And one important aspect which I want to touch on is, if you talk of life cycle carbon footprint, solar and wind is the lowest. Solar is 3 times of wind, and coal obviously is many more times. Nuclear is equal to wind incidentally. So that is the, shall I say, the golden sunshine on the clouds. So let's move ahead on a positive note. Thank you.
Hello, I'm C.P. Tiwari. I lead business development in Tata Power. Gigawatt of generation portfolio. Out of 26, we are around 10 gigawatt positive, 5 gigawatt renewable operational, and 10 gigawatt renewable under development. As a company, we have already pledged not to add any thermal capacity in our portfolio, and that's why this Shanti Bill, Shanti 2025 becomes very important for us also. We are actively working on different aspects of site selection and technology selection, and as our fellow panelist has already said that Shanti Bill has set up the framework, but lot many things is still to be done. Like government has yet to come out with act and regulation by which private or any public sector company can really take the license and build the nuclear power plant. We are waiting that, and we are also seeing that how the entire ecosystem development will take place, because ultimately we could build in last 30-40 years only 10 gigawatt, and we are targeting 100 gigawatt. So really making 10 times growth in another 20 years is a big challenge, and let us see. And but having said that, if you see the growth of thermal, so similarly, if everything goes well, then I am sure that we will be able to achieve this target. Out of 1 to 5 scale, definitely I would like to give 5. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Siddhant Mehra. I'm with the U.S.-India Business Council, that is the bilateral U.S.-India chapter of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce based in Washington, D.C. We're the world's largest trade association. and the US-India Business Council, based in New Delhi and across the country, work with about 250 international corporations, primarily US and Indian. So we don't differentiate necessarily around our advocacy. We think that it is important that both sides of the bilateral relationship are heard very loud and clear. So my primary role is to lead the energy and infrastructure portfolio, and nuclear is right in the kind of core nexus of that. My goal at this moment, given the very successful passing of the Shanti Act, is to now connect the legal framework partners with project viability partners, the technologists, the financiers, the academic partnerships, and the two governments to sit down and plan what an integrated power and energy master plan will look like. How do we integrate new technologies that are coming through for the next generation of energy security conversation? So this is something I was sharing with Sheila. I will absolutely give this moment a 5 on 5. Devil is in the details. Yes, we're going to figure this out. But when we look back 200 years down the line, what was the most defining moment for India's energy security posture? It will be the passing of the Shanti. So, over to you.
10
From mathematician, that might be correct.
So yes, hi, I am Samir Kuno. I represent here in two capacities. One is I am Vice President IBANS Research Foundation, which is Indian Youth Nuclear Society. So we are also doing the policy advocacy and nuclear pursuing all sorts of activities, and particularly having opportunities for students in nuclear. The other part is I am also a Chief Technology Officer in IBANS Tech Solution, which they are developing India's first micromodular nuclear reactor, which is a 10 megawatt nuclear solution. Giving the background, I'll thank my fellow speakers because they have played the baseline for me. You have heard climate aspect also. I'll give just one numbers in that one number as well. He said that the lifetime emission is very close to the wind. But what difference does it make when it is in the energy domain? I'll just give that number. France today has 67% of its energy from nuclear. So its per carbon emission per unit of electricity generated is 90. And can anyone guess what is for India? It's 820. It's 90. Yeah, it's almost 900. Because we have only 3% electricity is from nuclear. So this is the difference in a wide mass scale deployment between. The other part, definitely which brought up was the supply chain issue and the integration and the time required. So the very aspect of developing our own indigenous technology is have to have a supply chain which is also being indigenized. That way these the MSMEs, the tier 1 industries can all collab together to provide it the cost of the reactor to 1/3 at least. This is the particular statistics what we can bring up. And the other part is the reactor what we are developing is a thorium reactor. Definitely the geopolitics today we suggest that the fuel what we have it should not depend on the imported ones. So thorium is the one which we are looking for. So yes, and why now? Why Shanti? Definitely because the earlier Atomic Energy Act also prohibited for having private research and technology development in public domain as well. So this is now a bigger change that anyone who is willing to contribute to nuclear can now at least contribute to research as well, to development as well, can bring their idea into reality without the having government saying that you cannot do that. So definitely more than 5 can give definitely 5 of this bill so that people can have their own technologies patent as well. When you said that was something which was wrong, so this Shanti bill opens up that too. So definitely 5.
Thank you. I'm Shubha. I head international cooperation in a Made in India think tank called the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. And part of my work, my leadership is here. We look at India's energy security, resource security, the global governance of resources, which is an important area. India was sanctioned for several years because of our nuclear tests, and that comes under global governance where countries rule differently for different countries. And speak a little bit about that going in. And also climate risks, sustainable development, and anything things that feed into an energy source or the resources that we chase around the world. And that's where the crux of the geopolitics of the world is. Now I have specific questions, but again, I want you, as everybody has a lot of things to say, which is why it's difficult to keep it to one thing. And I want to go in reverse direction, starting with the angry young man of nuclear. Ever since I've met Sanakia, who's very frustrated about what was going on, so I think for you this is that moment, because every conversation before this, there was this deep frustration that we were really not moving in the right direction. Now you have, I'm going to ask you to pick one item in the Shanti bill that you think is transformative. Lots of things are, but what would be your number one pick? You have mentioned the private research, you want to stick with that, or you want to speak? Yeah, I wanted to tell two things in that private research. Why was there an objection to it? And two, what is required for private to really do research and see it?
First of all, I'll give the background here, because when the Atomic Energy Act was particularly written in early times, there was no differentiation between the civilian application as well as the strategic application. By that time, all things were considered as a strategic application. So every aspect of them was treated as a strategic one. So the private research is particularly now becomes a part against this rule, and that is why we could not adopt the technologies which were particularly much available in the domain, and helpful. To give expand on this, I think Mr. Sir will help me out with this. There is a 1000 megawatt power plant in northern side with NTPC. They have already acquired basically air cool condensing. That technology would reduce the water consumption from a reactor to only by 70%. Now imagine if that water is reduced by 70%, you have more sites that can have more reactors there. The right example is in Bihar. There was one site which was allotted by the government, by the Bihar state government to put up, and there was due to lack of water line. But then it was suggested that the water can be taken from the Ganga and put it up there. But due to the not security concern, like if what if the water line was being sabotaged or something, so they have to. There will be the devil's advocate for in terms of safety. So that particular project was cancelled, and this is where the idea comes into the picture that if there is something which is good research, good action to be taken within the private that can particularly enhance the nuclear also to the other level. Definitely regulators can have their fair share of trial, testing, licensing and all part, but this is where this comes into the picture. The other idea is why private research as well. There are different technologies like person like me have already studied from the bachelor's to nuclear, and we have that kind of talent that we can put up a new design completely on ground with the indigenous ones. So that boost is not available here. We have actually lost a huge amount of skilled workforce from India because the nuclear sector was only limited to one only the private sector. Only the central government part. So this is where this comes into picture. So but then as we said, as the research opens up, the thinking of applying a particular technology in separate domains also widens, and this gives us the opportunity that we can have the best solution pick which is there for the suitable. For example, now for today's current technologies, no reactor can be placed in the northeastern region because it is in the seismic zone 5. Even seismic zone 4s are many times not allowed. Narora was an exception for that. So now you can, since there is no particular technology, can you say that no, I'll have no reactor in the northeastern region? They have to survive on fossil or something else. This is the question, like. So this opening up a research basically opens up your vision to the private, more people contributing to the technology and growth of the sector.
Your one pick.
So, I'm going to pick two pieces, but only for context. It is about one. So the idea is to really think about how the private sector operates. I want to go to what Someshji started in his opening comments. Right now, the United States, for example, has about 19 to 21% of its energy mix that comes from nuclear. France has about 75%. They're not in capacity, but in percentage. Russia is about 19 to 21%. China is about 7 to 7.5%, but looking to double it in the next 7 years. India right now is at about 1.6% of our overall energy installed capacity. Is that? Yeah, that's right. When we really look at 2047, we look at Viksit Bharat and we're looking at a energy installed capacity projection of 2100 to 2200 gigawatt. Even 100 gigawatt, which is coming up to about 4.7, 4.8%, is still very low. When you really think about what the Shanti Act has done, has opened up the supplier community to really integrate with the national energy security needs of India. So obviously the gentlemen on my left have the technical capabilities. We have the genius in our country to have been participating in the nuclear energy sector for almost 70 years. This is the moment that we go from here to here. I think that's the transition that the Shanti Act has done. And in that aspect, I'll mention, I think one of the most obvious ones for technology partners is the supplier liability. Now, I don't think there should be any confusion that the supplier liability is out of the window. That is not the case. The case is that the supplier liability will now be restricted to what is decided in legal contract. Now that allows innovation, it allows discussion between the private sectors of both countries. It allows partners to really go into the details and see what the brass tacks of their ability to even participate in the market is. If this was not an issue, the last 20 years of the US-India 123 agreement would have borne a lot of great results. But we slowly and steadily got to a point where there is an active movement now on the supplier liability. Now this opens up a lot of secondary things like aligning India with international standards on the CSC, which is the Convention on Supplementary Compensation, which is the IAEA regime, more globally oriented. It opens up a tiered liability ecosystem that allows for insurance premiums to be more predictable for investors. So I would say supplier liability connection would be really important.
Yeah, thank you. I think already covered private sector participation. They have already allowed private sector participation and supplier liability. Apart from this, I agree that technology is also a very important factor because presently we have only one technology, indigenous technology, and that too is pressurized heavy water reactor, lot of waste generation. So I believe that Shanti Act will allow for using of latest and new technologies, especially because everybody is talking of site selection. So in site selection, two important parameters are there which mostly we are not able to read. One is of course the seismic aspect. There should not be any fault, and it should be seismic zone 2 or 3. Even 4 is also, with 4 also plant may become very expensive. And second one is the water requirement. So and because I come from thermal background, so I can compare the water requirement of thermal versus nuclear. So since in nuclear we are using saturated steam, very low pressure and temperature, our water requirement is very high. And with change in technology, we expect that we will be able to use high pressure and temperature in reactors also. That may reduce the water requirement. At the same time, we can also think of going with the air-cooled condenser, which will reduce water requirement. So these are, I believe that Shanti will pave the ways for taking the latest technology. Lot of development is taking place. Maybe in next 5 to 10 year time frame, we will be able to use that technology also. Thank you.
If I may carry forward from what has been said, I think we need to understand why Shanti Bill. Shanti Bill is because we wanted more sectors to come in. It is a known fact that if you are going to invest and achieve infra of the order of 100 gigawatts of power generating capacity, you must have a fair idea of the kind of money we are talking about. Typically, if you are looking at the domestic technology, the capex is of the order of around 18 crores to a megawatt. And if you talk about international technology, the capex would be of the order of around 40 crores to a megawatt. If we are talking of 100 megawatts, and we assume that 50% will come from domestic technology and maybe another 50% will come from some international technology, I leave it up to you to do the maths. Okay. Now, with this kind of investment, obviously, we needed to open more avenues for fund. And that is exactly what the Shanti Bill has done. We have brought in the possibility of private participation, therefore private equity. We have brought in the possibility of international participation and therefore FDI. We have specified that the country would still have control and therefore FDI less than 50%. So these are certain things which have been specified in the bill. And of course, in any business, you cannot have a business with unlimited liability, so that was a clause that has been addressed in this bill. So now the liability is going to be capped, as has been explained, by what is written down in the contracts. That doesn't mean that liability is being released. It doesn't mean that the private sector will earn profits and the government will be left with liability. No. There's only going to be liability enforceable to the extent of what is written down in the contractual language. And therefore, the plant owners who are going to enter into contracts to establish new power plants, nuclear power plants, must be very careful of what contract they sign. If you are not careful, you will obviously lose money. And this is normal business rule across the world, everywhere. So I think this is one aspect which nobody had touched, so I thought I'll just touch on this object. Of course, we have a very, very experienced person next to me. I think I'll leave it to him to cover a few more important points.
Before going to Shanti Bill, I will start why Shanti Bill was required. I will start from the history, how nuclear power has been set up in India. You all know, in 70s, when we were doing our first two PHWR reactors with the help of Canada, we have just completed one reactor, and second reactor was under construction, was not even commissioned. And at that time, Pokhran 1 was done, and after that Canadians left overnight. So we all managed, and then we have learned, and through that, once we have commissioned that, afterwards, our आज जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात की जा रही है, that we have learned in 1980s. आत्मनिर्भर भारत के उस पर आगे बढ़ते हुए, first we have developed our own technology for our 228 megawatt reactors. Then first reactor we have set up in Maths. After that is Madras Atomic Power Station. Then subsequently we went to Navra. Then we have made our standardized system that we will our future reactors will be under same thing. So based on that, we have gone further ahead. And then next, because we were having sanctions, we have not been given technology from other places. We don't have enriched uranium, so we can go for PWR, which is far better technology. So we had to go for PWR. Then next leap we have taken is 500 megawatt first reactor we have made in around 2005 at Tarapur. And based on that, again we have further improved. And now first we have for 700 megawatt, first two power plants we have set up in Kakrapar and Gujarat. And next two, that is they are at Rajasthan 7 and 8. Rajasthan 7 is already synchronized, and Rajasthan 8 this year it will come to the grid because just now hot conditioning has been done in the first week of January, and now it will also come. So why I am telling all this thing is when Modi ji has given a target of 100 megawatt, 100 gigawatt. So to achieve that, and if you see the speed from 80 to 80s to now this is almost 45 years. We have not even touched, we are till now we are 8.8 gigawatt. Unless we open up, because then with this case it is not possible to reach to 100 gigawatt, and we require new technology as well as this money and our business all persons have told, because that much of investment that is required, that alone NPCL cannot handle. And secondly, if you open up to other parties, then only we will get the technology, because they will collaborate with their foreign partners. They will bring fuel, they will do some R&D, and everything will come to this. So when competition will come, so with that competition, definitely NPCL will also get benefited, nation will also get benefited, and overall we can meet this target. But again, this is quite a riskier also, because nuclear, you just cannot leave alone like other things, that simply you give to some private player, and at some time if something happens, then ultimately government has to step in and they have to take care of everything. That's why in Shantiville there is a limited liability has been kept based on the whatever megawatt that is there till that time, because that private entity, they cannot go scot-free that okay, something has happened, now we are going, now you take care of all this during failure of committee. So they are also responsible for up to that part. But if something goes beyond that, then government will step in and further things will be proceed according to that. So right now I cannot take more time. As your questions come, we will further discuss about things. Thank you.
Any? No, you're not?
No, I'm not a panelist.
So where's the last one?
I'm trying to learn.
He'll conclude.
Okay. I don't think this is or it's not. Alright. So, for a little bit of context, the people we have here, so that you of course is not a comment immediately, but please comment if you think of something. We have a state energy corporation. We have NPCI, which is basically the forefather of the national effort, as you were explaining. We have NTPC. I have an interesting question for him. NTPC, of course, is our national power company, so they are not the NPCIL, so they have a different mandate. We have Tata, which is the private sector. We have Sid here from the US-India Business Council, so that's a trade chamber, and it relates to international cooperation. And there's someone here who has been studying the policies for a long time, but he also represents the youth and where do we go, like how do we build capacity of the country to really address this. So there's a very diverse range of experience and expertise here, and I'm saying that because I would like you to now get ready with your questions, because we are coming to the end of the Shantiville discussion, because this is a bigger sector than just the Shantiville, and I'm going to get a little bit into that. But if anybody has any questions, we are happy to listen to them. There is nothing like a unsmart or dumb question. If you don't ask, I will ask a whole lot of questions to these people. So you put your hand up and I'm going to send a mic and you can ask your question, whatever it is. They are open to answering this. Anybody? You should not miss this opportunity. And I also want those claps to be really enthusiastic, because suddenly the energy has died down. Yeah, so because this is an interesting conversation. No questions? Anybody has questions? Okay, there you have a question. Introduce yourself, and next I think you can, next to you, I don't know if I missed some. Put your hand up high like this so I can see. Yes, okay. 3 questions.
I am Shailaja, General Manager Finance in Madhya Gujarat Witch Company Limited, which is the distribution company of Gujarat. My question is with regard, I have not gone through the bill, so I have wanted to ask you. As sir said, we all know nuclear is a very risky fuel. So what does the bill talk about? How does the government ensure that this is the safest power plant, whichever power plant comes up? How is the government planning to ensure the safety of it?
You can also specify if you have a specific question, otherwise whoever feels like please answer. We can also have multiple answers to one question.
Right, so the first part which I like to say is the Shantiville mandates that Atomic Energy Regulatory Board will now be the statutory body which will be regulating the safety of all nuclear power plants. Earlier, if you see the formation order of AER, it mentioned for nuclear power plants owned by the Department of Energy. So now Shanti will say that there will be a statutory authority to audit all nuclear power. Point number one. Point number two, the way the AERB operates is very much different from the way our thermal regulator operates. Our thermal regulator is essentially a commercial regulator. He looks at the commercial figures and decides what should be done. The nuclear regulator is totally different. He is a technology or a technical regulator. He steps in from the point you are selecting a site for nuclear power plant. He analyzes and gives clearance for a site to be called a nuclear power site after going through a lot of detailed data which the nuclear plant owner has to supply to him. And not just that, that's just one part that he has said that this site is okay for nuclear. Next is, before you start digging at the site, he has to clear a comparison between the geotechnical data of that site versus the design of the plant, and he will give you a clearance to go ahead with your digging. That is called excavation clearance. Having given the excavation clearance, you are supposed to do the confirmatory geotech and submit to him, which he will again analyze, review and compare with all the civil designs and give you what is called the clearance for first pour of concrete. So this is the level to which the nuclear regulator is involved with the nuclear project. And even beyond that, beyond first pour of concrete, there are regular site audits by the nuclear regulatory authority, AERB, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, and without their clearance, you cannot put 1 gram of uranium in the plant. So they sort of audit right from the concept stage till the plant is built and ready. And once they are satisfied that it is 100% safe, then only they allow you to put the fuel. This is one part of it. Other part is, if you are bringing in a new technology, again the AERB is authorized to analyze, review and ensure that it is a safe technology, implementable in India, and then only they give a clearance. So that is how the government intends to ensure that this nuclear continues to be a safe technology for India. We must understand at the back of the mind that this is actually a very slow reaction. What you hear about in the moment of nuclear, nuclear bomb. It's a very slow motion reaction, very slowly happening. That way we are able to harness that energy and get converted to steam. Okay, so I think our track record so far has been good. The Atomic Energy Regulatory Board has been very strict, and the implementation on the ground has been absolutely correct, and therefore so far no failures. Fingers crossed. Going ahead, AERB will continue to be so strict, and therefore anybody who is new, coming into the nuclear field, I have had my own rub in with AERB, and I have had to produce a lot of data to satisfy that what I am doing at Mahibaswara is right. Of course, with the help and support of our good friends from PCI. So if the regulator is going to remain that strict, I am sure nuclear is going to be very safe for this country.
Whatever he has told. So he has shown you correct picture. I will tell you further ahead of it because we have been living through it. So like NPCI, now ARE has been made regulator. So not only NPCI, they will be controlling the private players also. NPCI also, currently I will tell you, whenever we are selecting a site, that site selection or environmental data, whatever we are taking, or civil data, whatever hole we are drilling, everything we have to analyze, we have to give the results to ERP, they will review, then only they will give ahead. After that only we can go to the site test. Even our seismic data that they will review, then we have stored first part of concrete. Again, we have to take permission from that. Means it's like that when we are from primary to we are going up to college, at every level we have to give exam. So like that, every step ARB comes up. Even when we have to load fuel, before fuel loading, and before that also there are so many tests we have to carry out. Pressure test, hydro test, different type of tests. Everything is being monitored by them. All our computer-based systems and everything, that also where we have to do some testing. Either they will witness it or we have to send it to them. I will show you my example only. I was in station director at Rajasthan 7, which is the latest 700 megawatt plant. Before loading the fuel, we have to ensure that security from CISF has to be there. For that, we have made watchtowers and everything. But when the permission was to be given at that time, out of 6 watchtowers, CISF was having scarcity of manpower, so there were only 3 persons there. The information reached to them and they stopped. Next day, when CISF has to put and 3 more persons, then only we could get the permission to load it. So, this is just I am telling, and in running plant, it is okay. Because what he has described was mostly for project. After project also, in running plant, there are 2 representatives from AR, or stations at each plant. We have 2 persons stationed at our place. They will be there with us. If there is something unusual or anything, they have to, and weekly or something, they will give report to that place. Other than that, we have our operation license that gets renewed time to time. We are having licensing program for our manpower. It's not like that everybody, any operator can get qualified, it can go to control room and operate nuclear power plant. For that there is some program. After some 3 or 4 years of experience, they have to pass a mandatory exam of level 3, we call first is level 3. For that also exams and everything is there, but in all, at the end there will be one interview. In interview, one ARP person will say. So it's not that you just fool around or you can make somebody as a nuclear operator. Then there are different stages, level 3, then level 2, then level 1, even up to senior manager. Senior manager is even up to director level. I have also to go through that, and that license is valid for 3 years only. After 3 years, then it has to be renewed. So you can be rest assured that if the same thing is being followed, and it will be followed for private also. So if same thing is there, and if such strict monitoring is there, so we can say that most of the things regarding their security, that will be answered. Anyway, still at present, whatever our reactor designs are there, PHWR and all, it is quite safe. So that's why till now we didn't have any such type of thing which has happened at Fukushima or anywhere. Anyway, those accidents, and there's a different story of that. We'll go and deep afterwards sometime. But such sort of things is not possible to happen at least in our reactor till. We don't know now what thing comes up, and then it depends on how management takes it and how is the safety culture there. Because if the safety culture remains like that, which we are having, and if we are ensuring it is like that, then we will quite safe. But if it gets deteriorated, because NPCI has motto safety first, production next. So if there is something detrimental to safety, we have to trip our reactor, we have to take care of those things, then only we can go ahead. And suppose the private player comes, and if they are more, because their management, and after that condition what comes, that we don't know. So if they say, okay, no, you go ahead, okay, I pass this thing and go ahead, like that, then we can be dangerous also. Thank you very much.
And
Just, madam, just.
Chair wants to come.
No, I want to interrupt because the question raised by Elijah is a very apt and pertinent, because that's the reason we are organizing so frequently these sort of seminars. And people are still, afraid of nuclear. But for all of you, general people, I want to tell you that one few statistics. We have 440 plus reactors operational in the world. Only till date, 3 accidents has taken place. That too in 80s, the last Chernobyl, and then 3 minor events. And recent, in 15 years ago, that was Fukushima Daiichi. But you know that the reason of the last one is the tsunami, and there was total power failure. But nowadays, the reactors are coming out with core melting possibilities is also becoming very rare and remote almost. The core material and other than and one more statistics, whatever these 3 nuclear accidents took place in the world, the casualty was much less, cannot compare with even with the road accidents. Leave apart the nuclear bombing. So it's a somewhat we are in we are kept in dark. We should not be afraid of the nuclear. And one more statistics. Recently I came to know from newspaper and Bihar in one of the villages and in one of the districts the radiation level is such which is far more, 100 times more than the Kudan Kunal, even in this exclusion zone. In the reactors there are exclusion zones 1 kilometer around the reactor core. There the radiation level is 100 times less than in a village in Bihar they found. So natural radiations are also there. Kerala is very prone to radiations, nuclear radiation because of the nature. So don't be afraid of that. Kudan you see, they took 20 years to complete that PV 1000 Russian. This is the highest unit in India, 1000 megawatt per unit. So lot of protest and it has caused us a lot of, we pleaded like, government of India pleaded like anything with the Rosatom and all. So this is because of the people's unrest. And you should publicize these data so that this data which will really open our.
In fact, because you said it, because I'm sure there's a concern for a lot of people, I want to ask, Sirina coming after this, on how the international community manages this fear psychosis. You obviously have huge installed capacity, but before that, if you tell in Hindi the story that you shared with us during the short lunch, because I think that impact of how to really communicate with the people on the ground would be relevant over here.
Thank you, ma'am. This actually reminds me of the time when we were getting ready for foundation stone laying of the Mahi Banswara project, and we just got the site clearance from ERB, and the Honorable Prime Minister had been invited. And all preparations were on. Suddenly one fine day, the rumor spread through across all the villages कि ये प्लांट आ जाएगा तो आपकी अगली पीढ़ी जो है पंगु पैदा होगा. Somebody spread that. And then we didn't know what to do. We had a meeting with the district collector and everybody, and then we decided that we'll go to the villages and talk to the villagers. तो हर पंचायत में जाके लोगों से बात हुई और लोगों को ये समझाया गया कि साहब देखिए, अगर आप न्यूक्लियर प्लांट से डर रहे हैं तो सबसे पहले तो ये सोचिए कि आप तो बाउंड्री के बाहर हैं. मेरा बाउंड्री वॉल रिएक्टर से कितना दूर है? 1 किलोमीटर की दूरी पे. आप बाउंड्री वॉल के बाहर हैं. प्लांट के अंदर तो मैं, तो क्या मेरा बच्चा पंगु नहीं पैदा होगा? और अगर ऐसा रिस्क होगा तो मैं प्लांट के अंदर जाके ऐसा काम करूंगा क्यों? तो दिस went down very well with the villagers and immediately they were pacified. जैसे कि नहीं सब आप सही बोले हैं, हमने तो सोचा ही नहीं है, किसी ने गलत फैला दिया rumor. So this is something what I was sharing with them, that you have to talk to the villagers in their language rather than going and telling them so many millisieverts and so many millisieverts और ये और वो. तो एक ये गलती हम करते हैं कि हम गांव वालों से उनके भाषा में नहीं बात करते. So, अगर गांव वालों से उनके भाषा में बात करके उनको न्यूक्लियर प्लांट की सेफ्टी और सब के बारे में समझाया जाए, आई एम श्योर देयर विल बी मच बेटर रिसेप्शन टू दैट. और हम लोगों ने ये भी अरेंज किया कि बांसवाड़ा एरिया से हमने बस में गांव वालों को ले गए और रावत बटा का राउंड करवा दिया, उसके आसपास के गांव वालों से बात करवा दिया. कभी बात कर लो, इन गांव वालों को दिक्कत है कि रावत बटा तो इतने साल से चल रहा है. एंड देन द विलेज इज एब्सोल्युटली सैटिस्फाइड एंड दैट होल प्रोटेस्ट डाइड डाउन. So I think this is what I wanted to share.
थोड़ा सा मैं भी इसमें बताना चाहूँगा, क्योंकि ये जो कंसर्न बताया है इसी टाइप से हमारे यहाँ पे भी हम लोग ऐसे लोगों को एनकरेज करते हैं कि बाहर से अधिकतर लोगों में एक मिसकंसेप्शन रहता है। हमारे यहाँ हम लोगों ने जैसे हम स्कूल कॉलेज से भी लोगों को बच्चों को उनको बुलाते रहते हैं ताकि कोई भी आए उनको गाड़ी दिखाते रहते हैं। बट अभी कुछ डॉक्टर्स का एक रूटीन में गवर्नमेंट ने अभी किया है, एवरी क्वार्टरली ऑल ओवर इंडिया से डॉक्टर्स को बुला करके रेडिएशन इमरजेंसी पर ट्रेनिंग वगैरह देते हैं। तो उसके कंक्लूडिंग उसमें मैं बैठा हुआ था, तो एक डॉक्टर ने जो सूरत से ही रहने वाला है, मतलब इट इज हार्डली 90 किलोमीटर फ्रॉम कागड़ा था, और वो उसका कहना था जब वो आया तो उसके बच्चे ने वहाँ से फ़ोन करके बोला उसको कि पापा आप वहाँ जा तो रहे हो, प्लांट में अंदर मत जाना नहीं तो आपको कुछ हो जाएगा। तो उसका कहना था बोले अभी मुझे समझ में आया कि बोले यहाँ तो ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं। तो ये मैं आपको इसलिए बता रहा हूँ कि डॉक्टर मतलब ही इज अ लर्नड पर्सन एंड ही इज जस्ट रिसाइडिंग 90 किलोमीटर अवे, स्टिल दे हैव गॉट मींस कंसेप्शन। तो न्यूक्लियर के बारे में लोगों को बहुत ज़्यादा वो है कि इससे ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा। अभी मैं जो बोल रहा है मैं उनको इसी टर्म में उनको समझाया, मैंने कहा मुझे देखिए, आई एम वर्किंग इन न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट्स इन लास्ट 36 ईयर्स। ज्वाइन करने के मतलब कॉलेज से निकलने के बाद में 20-21 साल की उम्र में मैं वहाँ पे लगा है, 36 ईयर्स मुझे हो गए हैं। मेरी शादी बच्चे नॉट ओनली मैं मतलब मेरे जैसे बहुत सारे लोग हैं एंड आई एम एज हेल्दी एज यू ऑल आर। ऐसा तो नहीं कि मुझे कोई समस्या है किसी और को, बल्कि मेरा तो ये कहना है अगर आप लोग उसको और अगर दूसरे उससे देखें तो आप लोगों को किसी को भी किसी व्यक्ति को कैंसर हो जाता है तो हम क्या करते हैं, हम उसको रेडिएशन देते हैं ताकि उसके जो सेल्स हैं जो कि बेकार हैं सेल्स, वी कैन डिस्ट्रॉय। तो वो हम स्पेशली जाते हैं डॉक्टर के पास, डॉक्टर मुझे कीमो दे दो, डॉक्टर मुझे ये कर दो, और उसके बाद और यहाँ तो हमें वो चाहिए मतलब कीमो फॉर बेटर। एंड सेकेंडली आई एम द पर्सन जिसका मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल मतलब न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट में बहुत सारे टाइप के जॉब्स होते हैं, यू आर इन ऑपरेशन, यू आर इन मेंटेनेंस, you are in HR, this is different type of things are technical. I was the head of fuel division only. So daily जो न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल से जो भी ऑपरेट करना, न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल को उसमें डालने से लेके उसको बाहर निकालने तक, बाहर उसके स्पेंट फ्यूल को स्टोर करना, अगर कोई इमरजेंसी हो गई तो रिमोटली उसको कैसे हैंडल करना, उसको करना, वो सब सर्विस करना, वो सब चीज़ों में ही मेरी पूरी लाइफ बीती है। तो उसमें डिफरेंट टाइप के जो भी मतलब ठीक है बहुत सारे हमें रिस्क भी लेनी पड़ती है, जो भी करना पड़ता है, बट कहीं भी कोई सी चीज़ नहीं लिमिट्स वगैरह सब चीज़ इतनी ज़्यादा है, वो सब चीज़ बात करने का कोई फायदा है नहीं, को बहुत कम है, उन सब चीज़ों को कुछ नहीं होता है। एंड एज ये क्लियरली पॉइंटेड आउट क्लियरली पॉइंट।
I'm sorry, we can discuss. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Sit 30 seconds.
I will just like I'll give the answer to the technology concept. The जो reactors अभी new reactors what we are thinking to bring has a separate generation as well. So those are particularly come with conditions that passive safety system has to be in place. कोई भी एक्टिव सिस्टम नहीं है, मतलब जैसे रिडंडेंसी है सब है, एक सेफ्टी फीचर के लिए आपको कम से कम 2 या 3 सेफ्टी अलग अलग फिजिक्स के प्रिंसिपल में मिलेंगे। And also when it comes to SMR जो कि will be more closer to the public domain, वहाँ पे फ्यूल इन्वेंटरी भी कम है एंड डिजाइन एक ऐसा इंटीग्रल डिजाइन है जिसमें दी सीवियर एक्सीडेंट जो हम लोग कहते हैं जो 3 माइल आइलैंड जो चेर्नोबिल और फुकुशिमा में हुआ था वो प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, दे आर बेसिकली एलिमिनेटेड बाय डिजाइन। तो ये चीज वहाँ पे हो ही नहीं सकती। So the idea of reactor being an explosion या मेल्ट मतलब क्या वहाँ पे adverse effects होना by physics ही वहाँ पे वो हम लोग ये करते थे, defy करते थे, and that is why we are more confident that we can bring now this kind of a sophisticated machine within the public domain.
Study suggests on how other countries have managed this narrative or what are they doing?
So I think functionally, the most important part is to have this multi-level layer of regulatory condition. I mean, there is no there is absolutely no confusion. I mean, I think, if I may, the gentleman who's running the facility, all of his white hairs because every day he's waking up thinking about the security and safety of the people. That is the extent to which this is absolutely regarded with a strong regulatory commission, which the Shanti Act has done. So coming full circle to that point, from a technology point of view also, even the components of the plant that are you know, heat exchangers or cooling equipment and others have a very serious NSTAMP certification that requires that very vigorous level of alignment of standards that are required for a nuclear plant. But coming down to the brass tacks of what Mr. Paul was saying, it really starts from the point of view of education, and it starts from the education at the elementary school education level. To understand, we don't feel the same way about solar. We don't feel the same way about wind. Obviously, they are very different technologies, but there is almost a receptivity to certain things more than they are because we've understood their long-term impact. We, I think, need to talk about the 70-year history of India's nuclear energy. We need to understand the long relationship that we have to build with the communities around the plants and then help build those stories out to the rest of the country. Because 100 gigawatts will not be in one place, it will be all across the country.
Thanks. Okay, we have spent 30 minutes on this important issue. There were two other hands that went up. One was you and one was you. I will take your questions. I may not ask them now, but please state your questions so at least I know what you had in mind.
Myself Hardik from Generation Company. Out of curiosity, I want to ask which are the EPC contractors are available or who is doing this job, and per megawatt EPC cost. I think sir has already shared. And second one is which are the cheaper source of funding for this? Is there any government subsidies or any bonds or something like that?
So that is something we will ask. I'll come to you, but first just take the questions.
That's fine. My name is Kalpit Prajapati. My question was also regarding the safety concern only, so most of that is answered. But still, even Malav sir, you said there are concerns if private players are involved. You said they may do something that you are following all the regulations, but you don't know if private players come then that regulations are followed or not. So in your mind also there are concerns regarding safety. So I want to ask.
I want to comment on this particular thing.
Everybody
wants to comment. Okay. Chair sir, I want 10 minutes extra for my other questions. I have a different question for you. I'll come to you. And I will come to you also. My response to something like this is, and I want to say how much of the nuclear in, let's say, US is privately owned? Because, you know, one of the things that happens in India is that because a lot of things are state controlled, we tend to not trust the private sector to do its job. And if you, here certain numbers would be important as to what is the private sector participation in countries that have a successful nuclear, history. Like they have 9-20% of the energy mix. That's a lot of gigawatts for something like in US, and that is mostly private. So the amount of regulations that I heard from NPCIL, that to my mind is far beyond. What normal thermal power plants or any other, let's say, oil refineries and all, they're very risky things with whom we do not have these this fear psychosis, I would say. So a little bit of data. I really agree that we haven't put out this data. We really need to have some operational things for the public that take out those sort of data. But Mr. Tiwari, only 30 seconds because I have
Yeah. So if you see the regulation, they are talking about safety authorization. So of course, AERB will be doing the safety authorization. Having said that, because whenever we are talking to different supplier, manufacturer and different value chain partner in this nuclear, so what we also need to really benchmark that how we are doing and how international nuclear plants are being built. Otherwise, sometimes you should not, without compromising on safety and quality, really we need to streamline our processes so that whatever timing are there, because when I am talking to L&T, they are concerned that manufacturing and inspection takes a lot of time. So how we can streamline those processes without compromising on quality and safety, that is required, and I believe that those type of reform will take place in coming days. Thank you.
So my next question is related to this and for you only. That given this gestation period, right, 10 to 12 years, there's a lot of risks other than sea. Policy uncertainty, supply chains, other energy mixes coming in disruptive technology. How does a private company that does not have the cushion of public really venture into something like this?
Yeah, so definitely we are looking for this opportunity, nuclear, and lot of more clarity is required because we are still waiting that how the act and regulation is being made for licensing and FP authorization, and then how the entire ecosystem is evolving because we are talking that foreign reactor are 40 crore per megawatt, but really whether that is 40 crore or 20 crore, that is yet to be established because nobody has really built the foreign reactor component in India. And I believe that once economy of scale is available, lot of reactors are being built, then if you try to compare the material and component in foreign reactor versus the Indian design reactor, then you will find that bill of quantity is much less than the Indian pressurized heavy water reactor. So the material cost is not big because I come from thermal background. I know that how much metric ton of steel we use for making the boiler, turbine, or for that matter structural component. And if I compare with nuclear, it is not comparable at all in terms of bill of quantity. But cost is very high. The reason could be that the economy of scale is not there. When I am talking to different supplier and vendor, their version is that their stock loading is only 25%, 10%, because they cannot leave their manpower. They are very specialized manpower. So once they are loaded 100%, then obviously their fabrication and manufacturing cost will come down. And I am sure that private player, and our only one thing is there ultimately, that whatever electricity we are generating, that consumer should be able to buy that electricity. You should not, ultimately government is not going to subsidize this. So finally, why I am able to produce the electricity from nuclear sources between 5 to maybe 6 rupees per unit of electricity, then we will be able to sell it by 2030-31 and surely this sector will grow. That's all.
No, so that's not all. Because you touched on the tariff, and what is for you and what is also Mr. Pal, because NTPC. I mean, I know tariff is not the nuclear conversation, but tariff is a very sensitive point, as much as I would say safety. So, how are you planning to, without let's say the government subsidy and all, match the tariff? And to Mr. Pal, thing is, what would be the role of something like an NTPC in managing the overall tariff ecosystem of nuclear power?
So let me begin this by answering this question also quickly. Number one, there is no concept of a single EPC in nuclear power plants in India at least. Okay, so single EPC India, no. Number two, nuclear technology is owned by an entity and he is the system integrator. All other contractors do job work for him. In the end, the technology owner ensures that the system integration is perfect and done. In the case of Mahi Banswara, the technology owner and system integrator is Nuclear Power Corporation of India. Bulk of the engineering will be done by them. We do the tendering, contracting, post-award engineering and execution of the project. System integration responsibility is at least there. Okay. Now, if I were to tender it out and maybe EDF France comes, system integrator will be EDF France. There will be many small contracts by different contractors to establish the plant. System integrator, EDF. So it depends on how you structure your contract. So far in India, single EPC nahi hota hai. Coming to tariff, if what we in NTPC, what my team was looking for and the management was looking for was, you see, just to give you some numbers, the domestic technology is currently being benchmarked at around 18 crores to megawatt roughly. Okay, give or take a few crores. What we have achieved in Kudankulam comes close to a figure of somewhere between 30 to 40 crores. And if we were to go for an open tender, what we have understood based on our interaction with the French people, Koreans and others is that we are looking at something around between 45 to 70 crores in each case. Okay, there was a strategic leak recently in the newspapers that the EDF had submitted certain paper to the government of France for 6 reactors to be built in France. If you take that number and correlate to India, it comes to 70 crores per megawatt. So with that kind of numbers, obviously your tariff will be high. Now, that kind of numbers pertains to what economy of scale, madam was asking me. We are thinking that when we brought in supercritical technology into this country, NTPC did 3 bulk tenders. And those 3 bulk tenders gave a business volume not just to BHL but to L&T and all others. And multiple factories were created in India and technology was brought in. Okay, Toshiba opened the factory, Doosan opened the factory, L&T MHI tied up and opened the factory, BHL got a technology agreement. So a lot of things happened. Okay, we want to replicate something similar to that in the nuclear field. The problem is 100% indigenization is not possible because nobody will transfer the technology. The technology owner is the technology owner in the case of nuclear because he is responsible for the safety of the technology. Okay, as I was telling you, the regulator looks at somebody responsible for the technology. The regulator looks at somebody responsible for operating that technology. So, NTPC Parmanu Urja Nigam Limited or Ashwini or NPCL are operators. In the case of PHWR, NPCL is also a technology owner and integrator. If we were to tender it out, the technology owner and integrator would be the company which supplies the thing to us. So we are looking forward to something like 15 gigawatts or 20 gigawatts as bulk tender so that we can get economy of scale and series production of the reactors. No matter where they are produced, at least certain percentage will be produced in India. Now the debate is on, the discussion is on the government of India, how do we structure that contract? Okay, because 100% indigenization nobody will take. So let us see how it goes forward. Discussion is on, it's not concluded, so I would like to reveal beyond this. But this is the direction that we are trying to follow so that we bring down the price. Because we have a supply chain established in India because already Kulam mein foreign contractor is supplying reactor with certain Indian companies doing a lot of things. Then we have established Indian companies like L&T and others who are already supplying components for PHWR. And they are also supplying components internationally for PWR. So such companies do exist, but once we have this bulk tender, whatever is the final shape and structure of that, I'm sure it would be enough to drive some sort of a scale and we'll be able to arrive at some real figures which we can talk about. Currently we are talking about somebody else's figure. उसके बाद हमारा अपना figure लेके हम market में आएंगे. So currently, I mean, I'm not really able to confirm anything, but this is the direction that the country is moving in.
Yeah, I fully agree that whatever we are talking 40 crore, 50 crore, that is yet to be established for Indian context. Because ultimately, if you see the component weight, component material, number of component, bill of quantities, so it is not a very big item compared to thermal or any other power generation technology. And once we start making those components in bulk in India also, whatever quality procedure you follow, but ultimately if you have a quality engineer and that quality engineer is working for 4 similar components, then his effort is divided on 4. So obviously the cost will come down. And our target is like if we are able to build the plant less than 20 crore, then only it will be we will be able to compete with other available technology. Thank you.
I just want to add a couple of things here. The major price difference, what is coming, the projected price and the actual plant prices, the major component comes from interest during construction, and that particularly was a period when the design of the safety features were changed mid, mid the erection of the plant and so forth. So now, particularly when this is going to the during the private contractors or not, the design will be fixed. So we know particularly if any new safety feature is to be added, that would be retrofit. Creating the design first, which was approved, and then added up to the retrofit. This will ensure that particularly the plan and the project follows the same timeline, which is it has been committed, which reduces the cost huge. Within a long term. And as he said, if we are going for a volume of scale, then definitely it reduces the cost a lot, making it more profitable. So there are no changes in the approved plan. Kind of structure is particularly what private is also looking for.
See, even in the case of PHWR, the government has already taken initiative in this field. See, the first lot of 10 PHWRs is supposed to be series production. Now the government has approved the second lot of 10 reactors series production. Now the third lot of 10 reactors in process. So effectively, you'll be having 30 reactors of PHWR series production. Cost will come down more.
So we are looking at a future of friendly and hopefully reduced prices through economy of scales.
I think this also pertains to the international piece. The Make in India multiplier that the nuclear energy sector can be to have, lowering the level as cost of electricity for plants abroad, where, reactors are being built in India and then exported is another new opportunity to start thinking about where India becomes really competitive. When President Trump and Prime Minister Modi met in February of last year, this was one of the very key deliverables that was being discussed on how important it will be that both the United States and India collaborate on US designed nuclear reactors in being manufactured in India for the world. And in addition to that, you have to start thinking about co-production of technologies as well. That is a key component that now the Shanti Act actually opens up.
Now we are at a different level of mind. Okay. I have two final questions, which is across 3 or 4 people, and then I'll take final comments. And I will also take a couple of more questions in case you have. My question, Samya, first to you, and then to whoever wants to answer this, and NPCI specifically. What is the capacity building that we need? Where do we start? What sort of workforce do we need? That is one. Second, where do startups and sandboxes come in? Because we're going on talking of technology and innovation, but who is doing this? Who is financing this? What's the scope? And my question for NPCI, because you said that you are really happy that the sector has opened up, etc. Do you see your NPCI mentoring the startups or these newcomers into the field and sort of bringing them up to market? Because I think, there's one part that is the business. But NPCI would also have a role to build the ecosystem because you are the only ones who've been in the ecosystem for the last part. So, and to your question, Siddharth, on cooperation. With the US, there's a lot of things going on, but overall, what is the scope now that India is getting in? Like you said, it's a big player. 100 is something we're starting with, and we don't know whether it goes if the prices drop or there's a tech disruption, they could scale up very quickly. But with the overall geopolitics and supply chain going the way it is this risky from the supply chain point of view, or is this something that startups can manage as well as large government companies? So these are 4 questions for 4 of you. Then I'll take final comments. Just one on finance, but I think we've discussed finance. In case somebody wants a BPF or something, please, you can tell us if something would make this easier. Samya, then Mr. Malviya from the NPCI, and here are the startup ecosystem. You can use this.
Exactly, and very rightly pointed out that capacity building is the primary requirement today, because if we see, there is very less amount of nuclear certified engineers in India because the sector was restricted. But now if private has to ensure that they are entering into nuclear, they have to also ensure that we have that kind of expertise and knowledge with us to at least handle nuclear related activities and materials. Definitely this comes at very different level, so it has to start with the certified courses as well, but primarily the private industry will have to look at the capacity building of that existing existing workforce which is there, so as to make, because they are an excellent engineers on ground who have been working, who know the technology beyond the just after the heat source, the turbines, the other balance of plant, everything, they are very well versed with it. The only part today they lack, and what they can adopt very easily, is how that nuclear particular power plant works. So there is one part where we say about the transforming the current workforce into nuclear one. The second one lies in the factor where we have the certified engineers development, which those come into the development and deployment activity. And third parts are where other parts is where a nuclear kind of a restrict will not say that their domain courses and elective courses. So there should be something kind of elective where the basics can be done, because this will ensure the expansion of nuclear in different application oriented windows. Today, you might have heard of the Beta Volt is basically a Chinese product which is having a battery which is life of 10 years. It's a small battery. They've already done that. We are looking for alternatives to different ones. Nuclear propulsion. Today, people are looking for nuclear-powered submarine, nuclear-powered, aircrafts, and so forth. So, this is where the combining of the multidisciplinary activities with the support of nuclear comes into the picture. So, the capacity building, the knowledge of this has a different level, different objective in altogether. But to here I would like to say that AICT has taken a note of it. They have actually created a panel for creating the undergraduate course for nuclear engineer. Some private universities in India have already they have already provided us nuclear engineering degrees in nuclear engineering. Some still continue. Some I think have lost the coursework because of less of the people opting for that. But this kind of educational and activity, for example, if you look at the manufacturing industry, which is supplier chain in the nuclear industry, they also have to understand that which ASME codes, which factors, which qualifications has to be made when they are dealing with a nuclear specific material. So these kind of capacity building, special forging types are there, weldings are there. So these kind of education is also to be carried out on a very mass scale. Unless we do that, we will, we cannot have a full-fledged nuclear-powered expansion as well. Many industries will say that the operators are to be trained as such that it is a long process and long and due process. It takes years of you to master it. So that is where the policy is in place now. Now we also have to start the capacity building projects and ideas today, so that whenever we are seeing something on ground, we also have those people who can run.
Maybe similar to like boiler competent person. Similarly, nuclear competent person can be
different boilers. I'll give you the example. Today, steel industry is particularly looking for heat as a much larger component for smelting reasons. Right. There are nuclear furnaces which are much easily, and which is 1/3 of the cost of heat. What we can say that the LCOH particularly levelized cost of heat is much less in nuclear if you could compare to different aspects. Economics can be startling, but then we need to make sure that we use that in a way. So this is, as I said, this is application oriented as well. If you could use there's a spent fuel problem in USA which says that because they don't reprocess their fuel. India goes for closed fuel cycle. We can actually have spent fuel batteries which has a very high density than lithium carbonate. We can store much more energy, much more efficiently within a very small and compact designs. So these kind of ideas has to come up with the different, so multidisciplinary approaches should also be there, and core engineers will also be there to us to make sure that
how a startup can get into this area.
I am owning a startup.
Okay,
for me, my story will be different in your case because we started well before when the Shanti Bill was there. Even there was no intent of government for going to private. We started with our own indigenous design of a reactor because it's an engineer's dream to have something device named after him. So being a nuclear engineer, I said I'll have a reactor someday. It was a crazy idea. I met with all like-minded idiots with me who gave their complete time and this, and so we came up to that level. But today it opens up a possibility that if you have a good idea, the government startup, the publications of the seed fundings are also supporting in this. In fact, I was talking to Niti Aayog senior positions. ANRF will soon be granting the research fund allocated with them in the nuclear aspects as well. And the 20,000 fund which was there under the nuclear energy mission, majorly kept for deployment of the SMRs, but some very fraction of that is particularly allotted for development of different SMR as well. So particularly you can tap in that one also. And I think DST is also following through. Today is something they are announcing some particular fund for today itself, I think. So there are different factors if you have an idea, but the idea is you have to take the permission from central government. Whenever you are dealing with a radioactive substance or a material, the central government has to be informed. There is nothing that they will allow us to find this, but they have to be informed if you have been doing so. Unless and until you are not dealing with a radioactive material, if you are using a simulated heat source, you are okay to justify the technology and have a prototype plant. But after that, definitely you will have to go with the DA to ensure that they provide you with sufficient guidance and they are ready to open their labs also to test that material within their labs.
it's rare that you get such a great, panel next year. So perhaps Mr. Hall and Mr. Malde, if I can quickly ask you a quick question. The skilling piece. There is a lot of research out there that the Department of Energy, national labs in the US and other parts of the world who have very robust energy programs are also looking at how transferable work over to what components of a nuclear power plant. Could you potentially comment on maybe, is it 80% of what can be done after a significant amount of be 70,000, 80,000 technicians?
First is okay. So for engineers, so without that process, you are not allowed to work on the reactor per se. So that difference would have to be there. Outside of the reactor, yes, with retraining and reorientation you can work. And to give you a fair idea of what we are trying to do, as of course NPCIL, BARC, NTPC, a lot of other bodies will have to now step in. One or two private companies I am in touch with, including SIAC, are thinking in terms of starting a nuclear training establishment. So I think this is the thought which will have to be carried forward. What NTPC has already started is, we've had a MOU with the DA and at the Central Training Facility in Noida. From this year, from October last year onwards, we've started the first batch of fresh engineers, executive trainees as we call them. So the first batch of 25 nuclear executive trainees has been inducted. And the training is being provided at our Noida, what we call Power Management Institute. And the faculties are some retired NPCIL, BARC and DAE employees whom we have recruited as advisors, and some serving officers who, according to our MOU with BARC and DAE, are going to be deployed from time to time to give the classroom training. So the classroom training has been tied up. The course material is very similar to what NPCIL follows for their one-year training program for all fresh recruits. And we are trying to take a few more chapters from the BARC OECS programs, again a one-year training program. So with that, we have started this first batch, and the faculty support we are taking from DAE. And both serving and retired people, and they are going ahead. Now, if India is to move ahead with nuclear, then this is the way to follow. A few more such institutes will have to come up with such kind of a support, and more engineers will have to be trained. So, I think this would be the way forward for entering the nuclear field.
and this is what NTPC has adopted. And I'm sure other large players who plan to come into nuclear will also be looking at something like similar. And to put it very frankly, as I see it, the role of NPCIL would be something like the role of power grid. See, there is a power transmission system across the country, there is the national grid, and there are so many private players who are having transmission lines. So power grid plays the role of anchor and the technology support, advisory services, and all sorts of support services. They are trying to stabilize the industry. So
Basically, we go to idle power plant. Ultimately, we have to run a turbine. Turbine, पानी से चला लेते हैं. So that part is very simple. You go to thermal, some complexity that you have to burn the coal, you have got those part, then you get it. Now nuclear comes certain complexity that you are getting that heat from nuclear. Then you are generating steam, again it goes to turbine. So, if you see for a nuclear power plant, project management, the construction and commissioning, that part is similar for all other, even if you go for any refinery or any other project. So, your private player can do much better than NPCI in that, because we have seen Jamnagar refinery and all, they have come up very fast. So, they can do far better in construction. Second part comes turbine part, that anyway NTPC and other there are private players, state electricity boards and all. Only thing is nuclear part is there. And nuclear power plant we cannot take directly from anywhere. ऐसा नहीं कि हम सेना में किसी को भी अचानक किसी को भेज दे 40-50 साल के वो सीधे जाकर के कुछ भी ऑपरेट करने लग जाए. It is not possible. There we have got NDA and everything system right from nascent state. We have to capture young engineers or young technicians and then we have to groom them. So that part will remain similar. So for that we can have different aspects. Like that we have got some training centers we can establish. We can have in some colleges some courses like that will be supported by DA and all. So people can opt for that. Then some training, different type of training, as he has told, different training center with ex-NPCR persons or anything. So like that we can groom it up. So that way we can make. But only thing is we have to go for large scale, because we will be requiring large scale of manpower. So we have to set up some universities, or we have to set up some different places like even at times we have taken persons from pets training. So from there we have taken put our engineers to pets, got some 6 months training over there, then 6 months training has been given by NPCI. So like that in power technology, we can give training from other this type of institute, and for rest of the part, then training can be given other places. And that way we can manage regarding manpower.
So now we are at the end of this session. I have 6 minutes, which means you have 45 seconds each to tell us what is the one thing you will do, not we will do, what you will do in your field to take this one step ahead. Right? But you have only 45 seconds. I'm going to stop you on 45 seconds is over. And then I'm going to hand it over to the chair. And then we have vote of thanks from Mr. Sendu, sir. And then we have some formalities like taking a group photo. So 45 minutes, we'll start with this one next. What is,
45 seconds.
45 seconds, oh my god. 45 minutes each, oh my god.
You can
go on. Start.
Yeah. For me, my actions particularly is that this Shanti Act particularly has given me strength for my resolution. We have been very close to our conceptual design and definitely going to work on that. And we are also opening internships for students so that new minds and young minds can particularly join us in the process. So definitely I'll be working on that a lot and everything.
Let me focus on what's coming.
You're absolutely right. Work is definitely cut out for us. I think my primary role, given my institution, will be to connect as many Indian companies with American technology players to at least start having discussions on what kind of opportunities they can work on. And then the second aspect is to have universities from the United States work with, let's say, IIT Gandhinagar or this university and others around to really start thinking about what kind of academic partnerships might be helpful as well.
Thank you. So, as a developer, I would like to work on site acquisition part and then technology tie-up so that we can build nuclear plant.
As I have retired from NTPC just now, it would be very right for me to comment on what NTPC would do in the near future.
Really, you can.
But looking at it from the ringside views, so to say now, I'm sure NTPC has already set the ball rolling. Mahi Baswara is already started. 35 other project sites are being pursued, hopefully with the land and water availability confirmations from the respective sites. About 7 or 8 of those sites would materialize, and we are actively looking forward to a bulk tender to bring in economy of scales and be able to establish project at a price that we will be able to sell power of the grid for. I think that is what NTPC is working for, and I'm sure we will be ahead with that. इसे ज़्यादा बोलना ठीक है.
I would like to support to change the mindset of the person. So I invite each and everybody of you, whoever wants, they can visit Kakrapara Gujarat site. You can have my number, details from the organizer, and anytime you can go, definitely I cannot go. But every one of you, you can come with all your family members. You can come with if you are having some college and all. You can come any college trip, that also we encourage. Or if you want, you can send somebody or you can call me, come to your place. I can deliver a lecture, and whatever doubts are there in your mind, I will, even afterwards also, if anybody wants to talk to me, first thing is, there is no threat from nuclear energy. First you should get clear. Even if our private player also comes, there are so many checks and balances, nothing wrong will happen. So don't worry about it. Anytime you feel free to call me.
So I am not supposed to say something, but not concluding remarks, but what I would like to say, I am not at all a nuclear scientist or nuclear. Never worked in, even not seen nuclear power. But nuclear enthusiast. The first thing I will say that one, apprehension raised that safety, private companies coming in. Do you think all government companies are not violating safety rules? Biggest violator of the flouting of rules and regulations are itself government companies. I should not say in this platform, but it is open, everybody knows. So private also has to be, mindset is the main thing. Whether it's a regulator's mindset, nobody should ignore any loopholes. Perfection in job, perfection in quality, that mindset we are missing. So that we need to do that. Second, as far as cost is concerned, my gut feeling said that it will be around 20-25 crores per megawatt. And if you go look towards west, the cost will be very high. And we need to look towards east. Learn how the Chinese way. Nobody talks about it. In the world, 37 reactors are under construction, which rest of the world could not think of. But we never engage with them. So the time has come, we should, and I think government is also opening up with Chinese. How they brought down the recently, I think you have heard the name, Walang 1, Walang 2, 4th generation reactors. And they are the only country in the world which has commercially viable SMR till now on the land. That is Linglong 1. And Walang is the bigger generation. And your neighbors, very, very close to your country. Karachi nuclear space. 2 Walang 1 reactor was built in 5 years' time. Can you imagine? Westinghouse got bankrupt. doing the Bhoktal power plant in 15 years. And they are doing 2 more reactors, Guam reactors in Bangladesh. So we should take advantage of the Make in India. We will engage with South Korean, Japanese. I wonder how Japanese, the biggest power plant in the world, is built in 1,000 acre land, 8,000 megawatt. What is the land ratio? So we should learn from all of, I don't have any reservation with the West, but they are very costly and very reluctant to share. I think the others also will be the same, but we should learn ourselves and do, make in India the way the Chinese do the Chinese way. AP1000 Westinghouse, that reactor, PWR reactor was then converted to CAP, Chinese AP1000. So why we are lagging behind? We should, if we can invent, and we have to go about the thorium, which I think today is missed out in not in detail discussed. Thorium-based reactors will have to tie up with all the nuclear, whatever it is. That Dr. Muiwaba's dream is yet to be fulfilled. That is very much required because the nuclear fuel will always remain dependent. Trump will come and say, if you buy uranium from Russia, we will give 500% tariff. So these uncertainties are very, very to be handled. So thorium based will be the one to be moved forward. Sir, we are on the, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
And we are on the, our,
please, please.
almost on, we are on the conclusion. So that was the last
time.
So every panelist were discussing what is the one thing that we will do immediately following the Shanti Act. So that was going on.
Please conclude.
So almost everybody. I think moderator, I also concluded.
Yes, we have concluded. We have actually solicited for sir.
Yes, then you can conclude with whatever we all talked about.
We will thank everybody for
Please request our MD sir to welcome our Ashmiti sir, our new chairman, principal secretary. Concluding remarks before I conclude.
No, we have concluded because we had a very rich discussion, and I would personally like to thank everyone for putting their personal experiences into this and not just saying things for the sake of it. Everybody has lived this journey at some level, and thank you so much for sharing very deep conversations, and I think that's what made the room stay full for almost 2 hours now. So thank you, and over to you, Mr.
Thank you, ma'am. So it was a wonderful session. We started with Shanti Bill. So what we concluded is government has put rest to a lot of Ashanti in this Shanti Bill. So and everybody on the panel had given full marks on the Shanti Bill. But if you allow me, ma'am, can I put a small question? There should be a villain in every story. So my question is on the negative side. Can we not have any ground on which we can criticize this Shanti Bill just to take forward where we can still improve on the bill which is being published now?
So 30 seconds, 1 point of criticism from each of you. Not criticism, I would say area of improvement.
Yeah, area of
improvement. Come here. 30 seconds, not more, since we are already over there.
Definitely, the positive idea is to have this public research and development here opened up. But yet again, there are some concerns and reservations regarding the patency as well. They have said that the competent authority will be the guide, but again, the DA has to take a call on that. If the private is having a research, that can be patented or not.
what we are protecting my.
So I think the main thing is in the implementation. We really have to now start looking at what those legal contract frameworks will look like. But in fact, in the longest period of waiting for this Shanti Act, we feel like it's almost impossible to believe that we have it at this stage. So, devil's in the details.
Intent of bill is great, and we are yet to see how they are going to make the licensing procedure and safety authorization procedure, and then we will be able to really see that how quickly we will be able to build the car.
So the bill is only a framework. To that extent, I'll give it full marks. I don't find any reason to criticize the bill. Now, as has been rightly brought out, what remains to be done is 2 or 3 things. Number one, the business rules need to be notified by the government based on the bill. So we are waiting for the business rules because the bill per se alone is incomplete. So the bill is there, the framework is there. How to implement the framework? The business rules have to come. The matrix has to come. What will constitute qualifying criteria for a company to become part of the nuclear business? Can any Tom, Dick and Harry come into nuclear? If not, what matrix to follow? That matrix is to be notified. And such things. I think these are, as he says rightly, the devil is in the details. So these have yet to be notified by the government, and these will be done in due course of time. And that is how it normally happens. Even the Electricity Act. The Electricity Act was there, and then the business rules came in. So we are waiting for the business rules. Let them come and then we will comment. I think it would be premature to comment before the business rules actually come. Thank you.
The bill has come and it has addressed so many things which are far beyond what we have expected. Even our request for proposal was floated, and whatever has been given, and the bill has gone far ahead of that. So as far as bill we know till now, it is quite good. But now further we have to see how it will be implemented. What will be the process? Secondly, how the regulators, ERB anyway, how that will be strengthened and how those processes will go on. Those details will come afterwards. So we can think of it will go in the right direction. Thank you. Some more details because it has come just recently and we don't have much details about that also.
Thank you so much. So we come to the concluding session, few minutes of season 2 of Nuclear Journey. On October 9th in Mehsana we had season 1. So we are concluding today season 2 and season 3 and 4 to come, madam. So
Season 1 we had the Shanti bill.
yes.
So after season 2, I mean, let's see what happens.
Right. So we have already created a lot of Ashanti in government of India. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for selecting this wonderful mix of panel. Thank you to team GSEC, to team Energy Department. Big round of applause for them. A special vote of thanks to our MD sir, who has been in and out, involved very deeply in the entire concept. Nuclear has been his dream. He wants to, take GSEC to new heights, to take from thermal to nuclear. Let's see how we do it and how fast we can do it. Good questions coming through. Madam had a double task. Post-lunch sessions in panel discussions, very difficult. Thank you, ma'am. So it has been a fabulous discussion round, and I would like to mention especially about Malaviya sir, the tagline "We also give radiation." That has been wonderful. So thank you all of you. Thank you Index team. Thank you all who have been associated with us in this beautiful seminar. For many days we have been preparing, and it's an honor to get a chance to conclude this with a vote of thanks to all of you. Thank you so much. I would request Pampi to just do the honors for letting our officers give some mementos to our esteemed panelists. Please hold on for the mementos and a photograph. Thank you.
We'll take the photo first.
Yeah. So photographs.
Please put your hands together and love a token of appreciation from our side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all.